Tamalla, the work that you do, it's very thorough. It has a lot of depth and breadth. So that when I'm talking to someone about this, I would need to understand where they are going and how much they're willing to invest in time. So that it's not really the money so much as in terms of, are they ready for what you can deliver?
All right, so today I'm talking with one of my coaching clients, and I'm going to give her a moment to introduce herself.
Thank you, Tamalla, for this opportunity. My name is Rani. I live in the Caribbean. I'm my background is in business. I'm a C-suite executive, and I've had many years as the head of an organization. It's a family business, so I'm involved, 24/7 with my husband in some form or fashion, either at work or at home, and so that's my main background. I'm also on the boards of a couple of NGOs, so that in fact, up to yesterday, I was the president of a professional women's group, and I'm also the president of another organization that deals with literature and literary development. So I have a broad spectrum of interests, but my main interest, of course, is in the spiritual realm. And when one talks about what I just talked about, they almost seem incompatible. So that the fact that I came to you was because I wanted to make it more coherent, kind of sort of find my way, because for the last few years, I have been on what we would call the spiritual path. I call myself a seeker for truth, and self-actualization has always somehow piqued my interest all my life. But for the last few years, it has gotten stronger. And in terms of getting into programs with a spiritual master who is a guru. And so from that, I decided that I needed someone who I can talk to regularly about this. And as you know, that I met the author of a wonderful book about Mary Magdalene. And I just decided to call her out of the blue because I'd read the book. It was such an amazing experience reading the book. And I thought, I'm going to call her. And not knowing anything about her, ended up at her home a few months later to do a weekend. And then after that, I said, I've been doing these programs, but in between, I need someone that I can talk to, that I can relate to, like a coach. But not knowing that they were actually spiritual coaches, because I'm more familiar with psychics, you have readings, and you can go to different people. But I just wanted someone who could take me through this journey. And so I asked the author of the book, and then she recommended you. And I thought, wonderful, because I trusted her judgment. And so that's how our relationship began, Tamalla.
Mm-hmm. And it's wonderful. It's been a joy for me, Rani. So thank you for trusting me. So do you remember kind of, was there any particular focus that you had that you wanted to work on or move toward? Was there something specific?
Yes. I think in terms of trying to understand my sole purpose, I think was my key focus at the time. Having been involved in so many programs, so I think I had just gotten out of, doing a program about Mary Magdalene, about bringing the Mary Magdalene energies into the world. That's how I happened to then speak to the author of the book. So having done that, And this program was meant to train Mary Magdalena practitioners to be able to bring this, to embody the essence and the energies and bring it onto the planet. And I went through the program and I realized, but you know, I'm not feeling drawn to become a practitioner. I mean, I'm a business executive and somehow it just wasn't aligned. So I kept thinking, well, why am I doing these things? What is the next step for me? And so when I came to you, it was really about, in a way, getting me to see the whole picture of me and trying to understand about my soul, my purpose, and how it fits in to my life's journey. Because I also felt a misalignment with my life and being in the business environment so completely. So I think that's where I started with you, Tamalla.
Wonderful. And so what was the first thing you noticed when we started working together?
well, I was thrilled that you were able to do so much channeling. I think I was thrilled with the breadth of what you could offer and bring to a session. And I was just like, oh my God, this is like everything wrapped up in one. So that was really exciting for me. So I think that was the first thing that struck me because I didn't realize the breadth of what we can do, of the kind of work between the channelings and the fact that when you are coaching me, you are guided to coach me, to tap into me. And that was very special.
So what things have you noticed about yourself that have shifted or changed or transformed since we started working together?
Oh my goodness. Well, of course, being in the business environment, of course, I was goal oriented. And I remember one of the things you always said, baby steps. You have to take baby steps. And I just wanted, if you remember, set some goals and I want to get there. So I want to achieve this. And I would always ask, how long is this going to take?
Yes, you did.
So you would always have to come back and say and remind me, you have to be able to do baby steps because this requires practice, but of course, being the professional and again, thinking of myself as an intelligent woman, I would be able to circumvent all of that and move in leaps and bounds. So I think it took us quite a while for me to have an appreciation of what that really meant. But I noticed and I think after we did the My Soul Blueprint, that also opened up another door to understand me. So I think now in hindsight, in order for me to move along this journey, really required me to understand more of myself.
Yeah.
So it wasn't simply about set goals and move on, because all of that relied on myself and understanding. So between doing the understanding the blueprint, what I'm really here for, and then also doing the Akashic Records work, all of those things have to be done in sync with having an appreciation for where you're going. At least that's the stand now. For me, that's how the process took place, because it was never a straight line. And of course, I also discovered, and you discovered, that I don't like doing anything, one thing at a time. Because I would get bored. And in any case, so we would always have about 3 or 4 things going on, which made it exciting. But I think it also took me in different directions, if you know what I mean. So because I was doing 3 or 4 things, I would be led in one way and then led in another. And so we kind of created a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but we also realized that I can move quickly in terms of the definition of quickly within the spiritual realm.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because spirit doesn't really work with time.
Yeah, exactly.
They
Yes.
work with shifts, right? And
Yes.
it takes as long as it takes.
Yes. It was like quickly outside of time and space.
Right.
And I think, what I loved was when we started to get tools. That was another major milestone. Because, you know, when you spoke about it and when you were saying it, it didn't seem real because I just kept thinking, you know, how is this possible? And then it would happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, yeah, that was like a revelation. So with each step, it was like opening up doors to understanding the breadth and depth of myself and the depth and breadth of all that there is. I mean, I'm thinking now of all the amazing images, the words, the concepts that started to come to me. And all of that has been incredible.
And so, how has that shifted your everyday experience?
Not enough.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know I keep wishing that and I keep saying, you know, I keep wishing that, you know, I will just get up the next morning and I will have all these amazing gifts and everything will be easy. And you continue trying, you're still trying for that to be unlearned as one of my desires, I think. um, but I think as an everyday experience, for me, it is more my internal world has been shifted. My yes, I would say that best describes it in terms of my internal world, because as I always say, how I'm living a dual life
Mm-hmm.
of this internal world, and then outwardly I'm still going to work, I'm still attending meetings, I'm going to board meetings, dealing with a strategic plan, dealing with budgets, but my internal world has expanded tremendously. And I'm still on the journey of which there is going to be an entwining of the two. And that's when I guess we have to think about what is divine time, when I'm going to be ready. And I'm still impatient. You haven't taught me how not to be impatient yet. We haven't accomplished that, because I have discovered that I am an outcome person.
Right.
So, but I'm always having to temper my impatience with still, I want to get up one morning, I want to just, you know, to be living somewhere else, you know, with nature, and I don't want to be in this world of duality, which I think my business world is very much around duality.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you have told me many times that, you know, of this big difference. We have gone through I've gone through many up-leveling periods, which I also find exciting. So there's a lot of progress that I'm very pleased with. But I think I'm on the journey of being how to blend the outer and the inner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And do you feel closer to that?
Uh, it's not that I feel that's closer that I think I'm going to get up tomorrow and it's all going to change, but I feel closer to the point of saying that which is my own duality, cannot continue for much longer.
Yeah.
You know, you just get a sense that I'm expanding and pushing against the boundaries of that.
Right.
That's how I feel.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it'll shift when you're ready.
Well, I keep thinking I'm ready. Though. I keep thinking I'm ready.
Yeah.
Yes, because but I have to think though. There is the mental me
Mm-hmm.
and the emotional me that I feel is ready, but it's the all of me have to be aligned for that to happen.
Right.
So I have an understanding of that, but that doesn't make me any more patient.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you are still human. You are a
Yes.
divine human. Yeah. So when you consider yourself as a work person and a spiritual person,
Mm-hmm.
and you've had all these successes as a work person, and you've had all these up levels as a spiritual person, and you consider where you want to be when you get wherever it is that you're going, right? Do you have an idea of what that may look like or feel like, or how you'll know that you're there?
I've thought about that, and I don't know that I can say that because I feel that right now I'm I'm very much in the middle of being a work in progress.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that there are things that are going to be changing that's going to be important.
Yeah.
And therefore, it's a little too soon for me to be thinking of what I will be because I'm still finding out of who I can be.
Yeah. And that's so important. It's so important. Yay! Yay! Because now knowing that, does that give you a better ability to be patient when you think about
Nope, nope,
that?
no, because you see, I'm excited about making it happen, and I'm excited to see.
Yeah, yeah. But it's
Yeah.
all coming. And so, if you had to tell somebody 3 milestones that you've noticed in up levels or access or whatever shifts, um, could you, kind of summarize 3 of those?
So I think the milestones were achieved when we did the soul blueprint work,
Mm-hmm.
when we did the Akashic Records work,
Mm-hmm.
when we did all the work on the tools.
Mm-hmm.
I think those were the three that I remember the most. But all in between, there were other milestones because every time those things took place, other things evolved and unfolded.
Right, right.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a piece to the puzzle.
Yes. So those milestones, in a way, they were like tools that
Right.
open doors.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
So yes. So I think every time we received an important tool, it kind of opened the door. It was like, open door number 1 and see what we had.
Right. And
There were no booby trap doors though.
well, that's wonderful. How many times have you opened doors that what was behind that door was exactly what you expected?
None. And I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's why I keep coming back for more. Even when there have been times where I would just be frustrated,
Mm-hmm.
because I felt that week, things may have been vague, or they may have been clouded, or, topsy-turvy. And I'd feel like, okay, this is not working, it's enough. And then we'd have a session and you'd bring something to the table that would, again, open another door or get me through that. And I would always be hopeful and excited after a meeting. I mean, there has been, like, of all the sessions we've had, I may have had one or two that I may have just felt, okay, let's wait and see. But generally, I've always been uplifted and excited after a coaching session.
That's wonderful. So you think it's valuable?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Now it's expensive for those people who are listening. Just know, it's not cheap to do the one-on-one work. But it's...
Well, yes. And when I did work with my other spiritual group, and people would talk about the cost of things, that was always a topic that she took, she talked about. We cannot be doing this work, which is all around abundance. And then you come and talk about this. So if it is that you want to reach another level, this is all part of the journey. And by just focusing on the cost and the lack, immediately closes a door,
right,
or narrows the possibility. So if this is all about possibility work, and abundance, one has to look at it from that to be able to gain access to this.
Right. And you got to value and you got to invest in yourself.
Oh, absolutely. So I've been doing that all my life. And in fact, it's some of these readings I've gotten that they've said, you don't need to go and learn anything anymore. And also brought to my awareness that, when you are being drawn to be somewhere, it's not only that you need to learn, it's because you bring something to that space, that you are bringing value to that space. And that was also, a very new concept for me, to see me in that light.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So what would you tell someone who was considering doing any of the things, the Akashic record work, the coaching work, the blueprint work? What would you tell them that would maybe encourage them to make the investment, to honor themselves?
Yes, well, when I'm having this type of conversation with someone, I always try to gauge whether they're doing it out of curiosity or whether it's really coming from their heart and soul. Because I find a lot of people are curious about this kind of work. And Tamalla, the work that you do, it's very thorough. It has a lot of depth and breadth. So that when I'm talking to someone about this, I would need to understand where they are going and how much they're willing to invest in time. And so that it's not really the money so much as in terms of, are they ready for what you can deliver? Because you are not a psychic that's going to give them a reading. Right. You are doing this with a lot of thought and, diligence. And I think that's why we get along so well, because you are extremely organized. And I love that. We are both punctual most of the time. We are both punctual. We are both organized. We both keep our word. So this work that you are doing is not for the dabblers. Yeah. So I think even if somebody's talking to me, I would not recommend them to you unless I know they're serious, because I will talk about the value that it brings, because it's not a one-off. This is work that is for people who are really deeply searching on an ongoing basis. I'm not sure if I answered your question properly.
Yeah, you did, totally. Yeah, and that's one of the important things that has occurred to me in understanding the work that I do. That you know, I do offer, you know, 1 hour sessions and so forth, but that's not the coaching work, right? And the coaching work is designed to get you somewhere, right? And you always leave with homework.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just something that we're talking about for the hour that we're together that week. It's we're talking about that. We get the shifts. Sometimes there's activations, there's, you know, downloads, there's information, there's whatever. And you go home to do that work, implement, practice, and do it so that when we meet the next week, then we can refine, we can address, we can adapt, we can integrate, we can up level, and then do the next thing, because it's all about forward movement, right? And we are actively trying to get somewhere as opposed to just sitting around and saying,
Yes.
what you got.
So we are both goal oriented in a way, aren't we?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we're moving somewhere. It's an investment of time, of money, of resources, of energy, of spiritual bandwidth, of everything. Because when I do the work, like my whole guide team, like everybody's here, everybody's present, and it's a group effort. And they don't want to be here doing a group effort for, like you said, dabblers. We're not here to mess around. We're here to get stuff done. Because
Yeah.
that's what it's about. We're in the time and the space to change the world, and we can't do that by dabbling.
Yeah.
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 And so you show up all the time. You're there. You're doing the work, and you're an inspiration. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Tamalla.
So is there anything else you'd like to say that would give someone maybe an example of what it's like in a session?
Well, what I also love is the unpredictability of the sessions. You know, I love the unpredictability. It's the same like when I go to the gym. I don't want to do the same routine every time, right?
Right.
So I think a session, because a session starts with, well, my sessions, our sessions, and I don't know if all do start like that, but I always give you an account of the past week, because we would have discussed, you would have made suggestions of what I should do, different practices. I may have gotten different blessings, which I think is incredible. I've gotten blessings. And so I would give you an account of all that happened. And I would also come with questions. And you know you love my questions, Tamalla.
You're a great question asker.
So because these things would occur to me, and I would mull over things, and I would bring questions. I would bring my homework, because I keep a diary, and I would jot down our journal. And so we'd go over that, and you would answer my questions, and that might lead to other discussions. And then sometimes I might say, okay, so that's all I have to this week. And then I would ask, what are you seeing that I need to know? And then you would bring in all your guides, and that would take us to another level. So I find that, you know, it's not predictable, except the start that, you know, you can rely on account from me. So I do my homework, I check in with you, and then sometimes that takes the entire session, which is great. And then sometimes I would ask, you know, what are you hearing? What should I do? Or I might have a specific issue that may come up at work. And then you would coach me around how I can deal with it, because I would want to know how I could deal with it. Certain things about myself that would come up, issues at work, relationships. So I think it's really, I think it's for each person can decide how they want to treat with their session, but I think you would also keep on track to make sure that they keep moving and shifting and evolving.
Right. Right. Yeah. We're getting somewhere.
Yes. So I think if people get involved in too much story, I think you would be able to gently kind of shift them out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we did set goals and objectives. And we did move through that. That was for a particular period when we had set the goals and objectives. So I think it ebbs and flows and shifts depending where things are going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, where you are, because it's all intention based. All of the coaching is intention based around what is it that you want to accomplish and that you're willing to do the work around.
Right.
That's,
but I realize that even now, even after all this time, we know the ultimate goal. You know what I'm aiming for.
right.
But it hasn't been a straight line.
Right. Well, and you also didn't pick like a second story goal either. You know, you're at the top of the Empire State Building. So
that is awesome.
Which is awesome. And now you're in, you know, floor 57. Right?
Right. But it's like it wasn't even a step. It was like, you know, sometimes it's a circle, sometimes it's a step, sometimes a ladder. You know, it was like
Yep. Yep.
Going up, above, below, sideways.
Right.
But I think I have kept my eye on the ultimate goal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know, part of the thing too is learning how to adapt to change is also part of what we do. Yeah, and how to really let things leave our experience and how to really welcome in and receive new things into our experience.
Mm-hmm.
Just learning that can really change people's lives.
Mm.
And then on top of that, then angling the work that we do towards a specific thing.
Yeah.
And then seeing the progress and understanding that the work is being invested in the ultimate goal. So that's why the intention has to be something you're willing to do, because you can't sit around and think about it. You can't sit around and feel about it. You have to actually do things, right?
Yes.
And doing of the things is what opens the next door. And so I think one of the first things we talked about when we first started working together was you said, okay, this is what I want to go. I'm right here and I want to go to the top of the Empire State Building. And you're like, okay, I want to do that as quickly as and efficiently as possible. And I'm like, okay, I understand that. And then as we're working, it's like, okay, well, you know, wait a minute. Now I'm only on the second floor. I want to go to the top. It's like, well, you can't go from step 1 to step 47. You got to go to step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, right? And that was a lesson I had to learn because I was the one that wanted to go from step 1 to step 101 in 2 days or 2 leaps. And I think because I had that experience myself, it's easier for me to walk people through that process with grace and humor because I've been there.
But I want to just say though that even when you say you have to go to step 2 and step 3, mm-hmm. It doesn't sound, it wasn't as boring as that sounds, mm-hmm. Because step 2 and 3 are not predictable.
Right.
So it wasn't like training for a race where, you know, you have to get up 4 o'clock in the morning and you have to run 6 miles and you have to time yourself and get better. This was not that.
Right.
You know, we didn't already know what step 2 and 3 would be. Right. We just knew that it's layers that you're moving through. So I don't want anyone to get thinking, oh my God, that sounds very boring. It wasn't. And I also want to add that what was so unique about this coaching is because everything is done for me. So this is not that you learn to coach people and you coming with a, with this fixed set of questions or this fixed way of doing it. This is me.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think that is what really keeps me coming back, because I know this is all about me. When you are coaching me and your guides, they are coaching me and understanding everything about me. So I want to really make sure that that message gets across.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not generic.
Yes, it's not generic.
Yeah. And like you were saying, the step 2 and step 3, and it was like, well, we don't have any idea what step 3 is going to look like yet,
No.
because we haven't got there.
Yes.
And part of that is the welcoming of doing the work and stepping into that next potentiality, so that then we can see what do we have available now?
Mm-hmm.
Because the options are innumerable, right? And we just have to make sure that we're taking the options that open to us that are going to actually get you where you're going. And like you said, it's not a straight line. Sometimes you got to go right.
I guess
to get
Tamalla.
left.
Well, I guess, Tamalla, it also depends. If someone wants to play it safe,
Mm-hmm.
then they won't aspire for the top of the building or the mount. I think mine is more like Mount Everest.
Yours is more mountain. Yes, I would go with that. Mount Everest.
Mine is more Mount Everest.
In the clouds, all the way up.
And you and I are working like, hey, this is possible. We can do this.
Yep.
So who knows? We might both be together in this saying, oh yes, it's like you and me. We are going to Mount Everest.
Yeah.
But for other people, their journey may be very different. So I think we also have to have an appreciation. But again, when someone comes to you, they can know that everything is for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because you are coaching not only their physical self, but you are also in tune with their mental, emotional, and spiritual self.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to call it soul coaching.
Oh, really?
But it scared people.
Like,
oh,
okay.
wow, that seems like a really big deal.
Yes,
Well,
yes.
It is. It is, but you deserve it, and you can do it, and you're supported and safe. I mean, have you always felt supported and held, and even when it was uncomfortable, even if you were triggered, even if it was, unfamiliar, how did you feel safe?
Oh, yes. And in fact, I was just in awe of how much supported I felt as we went along this process, is to know that I have so much available. And I guess that also, on the flip side, triggers my frustration that my day-to-day life can't, well, not it can't, but at the moment, still carries so much of what I'm accustomed to.
Right.
Yeah. But I continue to be so grateful that I'm so supported.
Yeah. And so, like you said, you're on the verge of that shift. And, it only takes 50% plus one to make that shift over.
Well, that's 50% plus one of me, not
Of you.
of the population.
That's right, of you.
Hey, but you've not just given me a new metric to check on.
There you go.
There we go. I have a new metric to follow up on. Next session, we're going to check on that metric.
And y'all better know she's writing that down. So we'll check.
Oh, yes.
We will check it. But the fabulous thing about the coaching, about it being so individualized, like you said, and it's my whole guide team is there. The Akashic guides are there. Your guide team is there, right? It's like calling a corporate meeting with all the players, and then the CEO and everybody's there, and we're figuring out the game plan and doing what we can to make things happen. And like you said, the tools that you get, and one of the things too that's important to know, I'm not a coach that wants to keep you coming back forever and ever and ever. My goal is to equip you to do this work for yourself.
Yes.
I will, just like my coach did for me when I started out, years ago, was I'll do it for you until you can do it for yourself.
Right.
And that's exactly where I am. And each time, like there's stuff that we talked about when you first started with me that we don't even address anymore, because you know how to handle that stuff. You know how to work on it. You have your tools, right? Never comes up. Now we're talking about level 57 stuff, right? We don't talk about level 20 anymore, or level 10.
Yes.
And, that's also really empowering, is knowing that, you've got a really cool toolbox with all of these amazing tools that you actually know how to use.
Yes.
To change and
That's correct.
Yeah. So would you recommend people join the coaching program?
Absolutely. People who are really ready to invest in their growth.
Yeah. Invest financially, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically.
But you see, I think that once they have invested emotionally and spiritually, the financial part would also complement that. As opposed to them thinking of a cost, it will also be along the lines of an investment. Right. And then they would be able to make the decisions to be able to accommodate that. Yeah. I think once you start thinking of it, how much it costs, to me, it suggests that you haven't really reached the stage of readiness in the investment. Does that make sense?
Totally. Yeah. Because it's a place of lack, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And this work, the coaching work's not for lack. We don't do lack.
Right.
Right. We are only going up and out. So that's a good thing. So is there anything else that you would share with anybody before we wrap up?
Well, we didn't speak about the access through coaching. Do you have access? Does everybody have access to the portal? The education portal?
There is some stuff that they get in the educational portal, yes.
Yes, and I think that's amazing. I think the education portal, again, so well organized. So well organized, and also it gives you access to so much information, your sessions and your other sessions that you give, the monthly sessions. And I've had some incredible, again, tools that we've learned, access to teachings. Those have also been wonderful, and I think your portal is another benefit to working with you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, the Living a Congruent Life training is a channeled class that we've been doing for over 2 years now, and it is available. You can catch up if you're just learning about it now. Everything's recorded, and you do have the ability to catch up. But it's channeled training from the High Council, and it's always something amazing. every single month. And it's homework and things to do and tools to use. And it's just powerful. So
It is. And
thank
again, you never know what you're going to meet, in those sessions. So there's another level of unpredictability, variety.
mm-hmm.
It's immense in terms of the possibilities.
Right.
And
But
you get an opportunity to ask questions and kind of get individual coaching
mm-hmm.
during that.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then the individual coaching also always is useful for everyone.
Yes, of
Everybody
course.
gets something from the
Yeah.
answer. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And so with that, with the living a congruent life training, the idea of that is really around creating the empowerment posse, right? A group or a community of folks who are able to up level into their 5D Christ consciousness, unity consciousness in a way that's going to be empowering for themselves and for the world, which is, what we're all trying to do right now. And it dovetails so beautifully into all the classes and
Yes.
into all the coaching and in all the Akashic record work, because it's all the same resonance, which is abundance and prosperity and alignment and individual alignment, right? So what's right for you may be different for other people. And while I'm a variety soul, you're a variety soul, I also have clients who are consistent souls, which means they want things to be very consistent, same day every week, same time every week, same process every week. That works too.
Mm-hmm.
But the goal still is to go from point A to point B without dawdling, right? Without nonsense, because we're here to actually get stuff done. And part of my work as a part of your success team is to help you get there with neutrality, with non-judgment, with authority, with empowerment, and with a total commitment to what is appropriate for you.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So thank you so much for this. I appreciate it.